It was a warm afternoon in Los Angeles. The streets were busy, full of people going about their day, some walking with coffee in hand, others scrolling through their phones as they passed stores, cafes, and food trucks. Among all the noise and movement, a small boy sat quietly near a popular taco truck. His clothes were dusty, and his shoes were too big for his feet. He looked tired, but he didn't ask for anything. He just sat there, staring at the food being served, watching as customers laughed and enjoyed their meals. His name was Jordan. He was only 10 years old, but he had already lived through more pain than most adults. His mother had passed away the year before, and he had no one else. The system had placed him in shelters, but he kept running away. It never felt safe. Some nights he slept on benches. Other times he stayed in quiet corners near open stores where people wouldn't notice him. He didn't beg, didn't talk much, just watched the world around him. Jordan's stomach growled as the smell of hot meat and melted cheese filled the air. He hadn't eaten since the night before, when a kind older woman gave him half a sandwich. But today, no one had stopped. No one had even looked at him. He kept his eyes on the food truck, hoping someone might offer to help. But time passed, and no one came. A few streets away, a man walked slowly down the sidewalk. He wore a plain black baseball cap, sunglasses, and a simple jacket. Most people didn't even recognize him as he walked past. He liked it that way. The man was Keanu Reeves. He had just left a bookstore nearby, where he liked to stop and pick up old novels or quiet stories no one remembered anymore. He loved peaceful places, anywhere that didn't treat him like a movie star. Fame never mattered much to him. What mattered more were moments that felt real. As Keanu turned the corner and walked past the taco truck, something made him stop. He noticed the boy. Not because Jordan did anything loud or strange, but because he sat so still. His eyes were fixed on the plates of food, and there was a deep sadness in his face. A kind of quiet hunger that wasn't just about food. Keanu didn't walk on. He slowed down and looked again. Most people would have kept walking. They might have thought, "It's not my business." Or maybe they would have felt bad but kept going anyway. But Keanu was different. He walked over to a nearby bench and sat down, just a few feet from the boy. He didn't speak right away. He just sat there, watching like he was trying to understand the whole story without words. Jordan noticed him, of course. He saw the man sit, but he didn't say anything. He was used to people sitting near him and ignoring him. But something felt different this time. The man wasn't on his phone. He wasn't talking to anyone. He was just there, calm, like he saw him, not just looked at him, but saw him. After a moment, Keanu turned slightly toward the boy. His voice was low and gentle. "Have you eaten today?" he asked. Jordan blinked, unsure how to answer. Most adults didn't ask questions like that. They told him to go away or just pretended he wasn't there. He shook his head slowly, looking down at his empty hands. Keanu nodded like he understood without needing more words. "Come on," he said softly, standing up and walking toward the taco truck. He didn't wait for a reply. But something in his voice made Jordan stand too. He followed, heart pounding a little faster. The lady at the food truck looked surprised when Keanu stepped up. He smiled politely and ordered 2 meals, one with extra cheese, just in case. Then he turned and handed one of the plates to Jordan, who stared at it like he couldn't believe it was real. "Eat," Keanu said simply, sitting back down on the bench. Jordan sat beside him, slowly picking up the food. He took a bite, then another, and suddenly he couldn't stop. The food was warm, cheesy, and full of flavor. It was the best thing he'd eaten in days. Keanu didn't say much. He let the boy eat in peace, only speaking again once Jordan looked up between bites. "You're a brave kid," he said. "This world's tough, but you've made it this far." Jordan looked at him carefully. For the first time in a long while, he felt something warm in his chest, like maybe the world wasn't all bad. And just like that, two very different lives had quietly crossed paths on a street corner. No cameras, no big crowds. Just a hungry boy, a kind man, and a moment that would soon touch the hearts of millions. Jordan didn't know who the man was. He just knew the man was kind. That alone made him different from everyone else who walked past him every day. Most people either ignored him or looked away like he was something they didn't want to see. But this man, he had not only spoken to him but bought him food, warm food, and then sat down beside him like they were friends. As Jordan took slow bites of the taco, his small hands shook a little, not from fear, but from the surprise of it all. He couldn't remember the last time someone had sat beside him without trying to get rid of him. He glanced at the man, wondering why someone like him would care. The man smiled gently. "You like tacos?" he asked. Jordan gave a small nod, a bit of sauce on his lips. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I used to have them with my mom before she—" He didn't finish the sentence. His voice trailed off, and his eyes looked down. Keanu didn't push him to say more. He just gave a soft nod, like he understood pain without needing to hear the full story. He had his own grief too, loss that never fully went away. Maybe that's why he had stopped. Maybe, deep inside, he recognized the same kind of loneliness in the boy's eyes that he had once carried himself. They sat in silence for a few moments. Not the awkward kind of silence, but the quiet, peaceful kind, like when you don't need to speak to be heard. Then Keanu asked, "Do you like movies?" Jordan looked up, surprised by the question. "Yeah, sometimes I sit near the glass at the theater. I can't go in, but I watch the pictures through the window." Keanu chuckled softly. "Smart kid," he said. "That takes creativity." Jordan smiled for the first time. It was small and a little shy, but real. "I want to make my own movies someday," he whispered. "Like drawings that move. I draw in this old notebook I found." Keanu's eyes lit up. "You draw?" Jordan nodded and pulled out a worn notebook from his small backpack. The pages were crumpled, the corners torn, but inside were dozens of little sketches. Some were superheroes, others were scenes from his dreams, spaceships, robots, creatures, and even pictures of his mother holding his hand. Keanu took the notebook carefully, flipping through each page with genuine interest. "These are amazing," he said. "You've got real talent." Jordan's cheeks turned red. No one had ever said that to him before. He'd always been the weird kid at school, the one with the strange drawings and quiet eyes. But now, this man, this stranger, was treating his notebook like it was something important. "You shouldn't be out here," Keanu said gently. "You need a place to stay, a place to draw in peace, eat when you're hungry." Jordan looked away, the smile fading. "I tried shelters, but some are scary. I got beat up once. I ran away." Keanu's face grew serious. He understood. The world could be cruel to the small and voiceless. "I know a place. It's run by a friend of mine. Good people, safe people. They help kids like you. Would you want to talk to someone there?" Jordan didn't answer right away. He looked at Keanu, unsure. He had trusted adults before, and it hadn't always gone well. But something about this man was different. He hadn't asked for anything. He hadn't tried to touch him or scare him. He had just offered food and listened. That was all, maybe. Jordan whispered. Keanu reached into his pocket and took out a small card. It had a phone number and a name on it. "Her name's Carla. She runs an art program too. I'll tell her to expect you." Jordan held the card like it was made of gold. He didn't even know if he had the courage to go, but just knowing someone believed in him felt like a tiny light in the dark. A young woman nearby had noticed the two of them. She held her phone low, secretly filming. She didn't recognize the boy, but she knew exactly who the man was. Keanu Reeves, a Hollywood star sitting on a bench with a homeless child, talking to him like he was the most important person in the world. She didn't interrupt. She didn't call out. She just recorded the moment, knowing something special was happening. Back on the bench, Keanu stood up slowly. "I've got to go," he said, brushing off his jacket. "But I meant what I said." "You're not alone, Jordan. Not anymore." Jordan looked up, eyes wide. "Wait, how do you know my name?" Keanu smiled. "You told me when you showed me your drawing. Your superhero's name was Jordan." Jordan blinked. He hadn't even noticed. But Keanu had. With that, Keanu Reeves walked away. No crowd. No spotlight. Just one man doing one kind thing. And behind him, a hungry boy held a full stomach, a business card, and for the first time in a long time, hope. Jordan didn't move from the bench right away. He just sat there, holding the empty food tray in one hand and the small business card in the other. The card felt heavier than it looked. Not because of its weight, but because of what it meant. It was the first time someone had trusted him, offered him something real, and walked away without asking for anything in return. He kept looking down the street, hoping to see the man come back. But Keanu was gone, vanished into the city like a quiet shadow. Still, the warmth of his words stayed with Jordan. "You're not alone. Not anymore." Those words kept ringing in his ears. He held them close like a blanket. That night, Jordan didn't sleep on the street. He walked a few blocks to a busier area where he could rest near a closed shop. He leaned against the wall, pulled his hoodie tight, and hugged his backpack with the sketchbook inside. His stomach was full, but his heart was racing. Should he really call the number? What if it was a trap? What if it was fake? But deep down, Jordan didn't believe that. Something told him the man was honest. That smile, the way he looked at the drawings. No adult had ever looked at him like that before. Not even his teachers. The next morning, Jordan woke early. His clothes were still dusty, and his eyes had dark circles under them, but there was something new in his step. He walked to a nearby corner store and asked the clerk if he could borrow a phone for a minute. The man behind the counter looked him up and down, hesitating at first. But when Jordan showed the business card and said it was important, the man sighed and handed over the phone. With shaking fingers, Jordan dialed the number. "Hello?" said a kind voice on the other end. Hi, someone gave me your card. He said your name is Carla." "Yes, this is Carla," the voice answered. Warmly, "Who's this?" "My name is Jordan. I met a man. He gave me food and said you could help me." There was a pause. Was the man wearing a cap? She asked softly. "Black jacket?" Jordan nodded, even though she couldn't see. "Yeah." Carla let out a gentle laugh. "That sounds like Keanu. I've been waiting for your call, sweetheart. Where are you?" Within an hour, Carla came to the corner store herself. She drove a small silver car and parked it nearby. When she stepped out, she looked nothing like the people Jordan usually met. She wasn't wearing a uniform, and her smile was soft, not forced. She knelt beside him and said, "Jordan, I'm really happy you called." He didn't say much. He just got in the car. The place she took him to wasn't a shelter like the ones he had run from. It was a small home, painted in light blue, with flowers in front and warm smells coming from the kitchen. Inside were other kids, some older, some younger, playing, drawing, eating snacks. No one yelled. No one hit. No one looked scared. Carla showed him a room. A small one with clean sheets, a desk, and a drawer for his things. "You can stay here as long as you want," she said. He stood there, not sure what to do. "Is this real?" he asked. She smiled and nodded. "Yes, Jordan. It's real." Later that evening, after a warm shower and a fresh change of clothes, Jordan sat at the little desk. His sketchbook was open in front of him, a pencil in his hand. For the first time in weeks, he could draw without worrying about the cold, without hearing the sound of cars or footsteps nearby. He could just draw. He drew the man with the cap and calm eyes. He gave him a cape in the picture, like a real superhero. A quiet one, not with lasers or flying powers, but one who saved people with food and kindness. Over the next few days, Jordan started to smile more. Carla introduced him to other kids and gave him his own set of drawing pencils. She even showed him a special room filled with art supplies and told him, "This is where our young artists create. You belong here." Each day, Jordan felt stronger, like he was finding himself again. But the biggest surprise came one afternoon when Carla walked in holding a small package. "This came for you," she said. Jordan opened it slowly. Inside was a new sketchbook, a full set of high-quality art markers, and a simple note. "Keep drawing. The world needs your stories." Jordan stared at the note for a long time. No last name, just the letter K. But he knew exactly who it was from. Tears filled his eyes, but he didn't wipe them away. Because for the first time, those tears weren't from sadness. They were from hope. Days turned into weeks. Jordan was slowly getting used to the new life. It was different, safe, warm, and full of kindness. He still found it hard to believe sometimes. Waking up in a real bed, brushing his teeth in a clean bathroom, and having 3 meals a day felt like something out of a dream. But what meant the most to him was that people saw him, not as a homeless kid, not as a problem, but as a boy with talent, with dreams. He spent hours in the small art room, filling pages with drawings. Robots, heroes, space battles, and cities in the sky. His lines became smoother, his colors brighter. He didn't just draw anymore, he told stories through his pictures. The staff at the home were amazed by his imagination. Carla even hung one of his drawings in the hallway for everyone to see. One day, Carla came into the room holding her phone. "Jordan," she said, smiling, "come look at this." Jordan walked over, wiping marker stains from his fingers. On the screen was a video, a short clip but powerful. It showed a man sitting beside a small boy on a bench, handing him food. There was no sound, but the way the man looked at the boy like he mattered said everything. Jordan's eyes widened. "That's me." "Yes," Carla nodded. "Someone filmed it that day. They shared it online." Jordan's heart raced. "Why would they do that?" "Because," she said, "it showed real kindness." And the world noticed. The video had gone viral. Millions of people had seen it. News outlets picked it up. Articles were written about a famous actor showing quiet kindness to a homeless child. But no one knew the boy's name. And Keanu Reeves hadn't said anything about it either. Jordan stared at the screen. It was strange watching himself like that, small, hungry, lost. It didn't even feel like the same person now. But deep inside, he knew it was. That boy was still him. Carla put a hand on his shoulder. "You don't have to say anything. The world might be watching, but you're not a show. You're a person. And you decide what happens next." Jordan nodded. He didn't want attention. He just wanted to draw, to feel safe, to grow. But something had changed. The kindness Keanu gave him had started something much bigger. The video touched people, mothers, fathers, teachers, strangers. Messages started coming in. Some wanted to donate to the shelter. Others asked how they could help other homeless children in their cities. One woman even sent a box of sketchbooks and markers with a note that read, "For the artist with the brave heart." Jordan couldn't believe it. People he had never met were rooting for him. He used to feel invisible. Now he felt seen. Later that week, Carla took Jordan to meet someone special. She didn't say who it was, just told him to bring his sketchbook and wear his favorite shirt. He chose a simple blue one with a tiny rocket ship on the pocket. They arrived at a quiet cafe near the park. The place was half empty. They walked to the back corner, and there he was, Keanu Reeves. He was dressed simply, like before, cap, jacket, quiet smile. When Jordan saw him, he froze for a second, unsure what to do. Keanu stood up and opened his arms. "Hey, artist," he said warmly. Jordan ran to him and hugged him tightly. They sat together, just like they had the first time, but now Jordan wasn't shy. He talked and laughed and showed Keanu his new drawings. He even showed him the superhero. He had drawn the one that looked like Keanu, with a beard and black clothes and a glowing heart on his chest. Keanu looked at the picture for a long time. Then he said, "You made me look cool." "You are cool," Jordan said, smiling. "You saved me." Keanu shook his head gently. "No, Jordan, I just bought you lunch. You saved yourself. You were brave enough to survive and smart enough to dream." They talked for almost an hour. Keanu told him about movie sets, about how stories come alive on screen. Jordan listened like every word was gold. Before they left, Keanu gave Jordan a small envelope. Inside was a card with the name of a private art school. "If you ever want to go here," he said, "just let me know. I'll make it happen." Jordan stared at the card, speechless. "Really?" "Really," Keanu said. "Your story is just beginning." As they stood outside the cafe, Keanu looked down at him one more time. "And if you ever want to work on a movie set," he said, "I know a guy who could use a good artist." Jordan laughed. It wasn't the laugh of a lost boy. It was the laugh of someone who believed in himself for the first time, and the world, watching quietly from behind the scenes, believed in him too. The next morning, Jordan woke up early. He couldn't sleep much the night before. His head was full of thoughts, good ones. The meeting with Keanu kept playing in his mind over and over again. The hug, the cafe, the superhero drawing, and, most of all, the promise of a better future. He looked at the art school card again. It still didn't feel real. He placed the card under his pillow like a treasure. Then he picked up his pencil and started drawing. His hands moved quickly, full of excitement. He drew a boy standing on a cliff, looking up at the stars. In the sky above, he drew a man with a kind smile, offering his hand. Later that day, Carla came into the room holding her phone again. She looked both excited and a little surprised. "Jordan," she said, "you're not going to believe this." He looked up from his sketchbook. "What? Your video? The one of you and Keanu at the bench, it's everywhere. Millions of people have seen it. It's not just on news sites anymore. It's on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. People all over the world are talking about it." Jordan blinked. "Why?" "Because," Carla said, sitting beside him, "kindness is rare these days. And what he did for you, it wasn't just kindness. It was real. People can feel it. And you were so quiet, so respectful. You didn't beg, didn't scream. You were just a boy with hungry eyes, and the world saw you." Jordan didn't know what to say. The thought of people watching that moment made him nervous. He hadn't wanted to be famous. He just wanted food, a warm voice, safety, but something had changed. That one quiet moment had lit a spark across the internet. Carla showed him some of the comments online. People were writing things like, "This made me cry. We need more Keanus in the world. Bless that boy. I hope he's safe now. I want to help. Where can I donate?" Some even drew their own fan art of Jordan and Keanu on the bench, like a movie poster. Jordan's eyes widened as he scrolled through. "Them? They drew me?" "Yes," Carla said, smiling. "Because now you're an inspiration." Jordan felt his chest tighten. Not in fear, but in amazement. People cared about him. Not just in the city. Not just at the shelter. But all over the world. Later that week, reporters started reaching out. Big news companies wanted to talk to him. They wanted interviews, pictures, details. But Carla said no to most of them. "Jordan's not a story for the world to pick apart," she told them. "He's a child, not a headline." Jordan was glad she said that. He didn't want cameras in his face. He didn't want strangers asking about his pain. But there was one interview. They agreed to an art blog that focused on young creators. The reporter asked simple questions. "What do you like to draw? Who are your favorite heroes? What would you tell other kids who feel lost? Jordan answered each question with care. His voice was quiet, but his words were strong. I draw to feel less alone, he said. I make heroes because I want to be one someday. Not the kind that fights monsters, but the kind that helps people, like Keanu helped me. The article was posted a few days later, and people loved it. They started calling him the boy with the pencil of hope. One artist even offered to mentor him online. Another sent him a digital drawing tablet. Everything was happening so fast. But Jordan stayed humble. He kept drawing. He helped younger kids at the shelter with their pictures. He listened when they were sad. He shared his new markers because he remembered what it felt like to have nothing. One evening, Carla walked into the living room holding a thick envelope. This came today, she said. Jordan opened it carefully. Inside was a handwritten letter. Dear Jordan, I saw your art online. You have something special. I run a small art gallery for young creators, and I'd be honored to feature your work. No pressure. But if you'd like to be part of it, let us know. Keep dreaming. Maya, the Starlight Gallery. Attached to the letter was a printed flyer with shining stars and soft colors. Jordan's hands trembled as he held it. They want my drawings? He whispered. Yes, Carla said. They want you. That night, Jordan didn't sleep much again. But not because of worry. This time, it was because his heart was full of dreams, full of hope, full of light. And it all started with one kind act from one quiet man. Jordan stood in front of a mirror, holding a clean button-up shirt that Carla had given him. It was white with tiny stars on the collar, simple but new. He had never worn clothes like this before. For years, most of what he wore came from donation boxes or was found left behind. But today was different. Today, he was going to the Starlight Gallery. His drawings had been accepted. His art, the pictures he once made with broken pencils and scraps of paper while sleeping on sidewalks, were now going to be shown on the walls of a real gallery. Carla was more excited than he was. She helped him get dressed, fixed his collar, and even combed his hair twice. You look like a little artist, she said with a proud smile. Jordan looked down. What if they don't like my drawings? They already do, she replied. That's why they invited you. Just be yourself. That's enough. They drove through the city as the sun began to set, painting the sky in soft orange and purple. Jordan looked out the window, thinking of how fast everything had changed. Just a month ago, he was hungry, sitting near a food truck, hoping someone would look at him. Now he was on his way to a gallery. When they arrived, the building stood tall with shining windows and soft lights. The front door had a small sign that read, Young Dreamers, a special exhibit by the artists of tomorrow. Inside, the gallery was filled with people, families, artists, and students. Soft music played in the background. The walls were white and clean, each one decorated with drawings, paintings, and stories. Carla held Jordan's hand and led him to the back wall. There it was, his section. 4 of his drawings were framed and hanging side by side. One was of the superhero with the glowing heart, Keanu. Another showed a city in the clouds. The third was of a small boy on a lonely bench, and the last showed that same boy being handed food by a kind man. People stopped and stared. Some smiled. Some wiped their eyes. A woman in a green dress came up to him and said, "Are you the artist?" Jordan nodded shyly. "Your work, it made me cry," she said. "It tells a story without needing words. Thank you." Jordan didn't know what to say. He just smiled and nodded again. More people came up to him during the evening. Some wanted to ask about his drawings. Others just wanted to say thank you. A few asked if they could buy a copy of his work. Jordan looked at Carla, unsure. She gently said, "It's your choice. If you're ready, we can talk about it." He was still surprised anyone would want to pay for his drawings. As the night went on, a quiet voice behind him said, "Looks Even better in a frame. Jordan turned around. Keanu Reeves stood there with a small smile on his face, wearing the same cap and jacket as before. Jordan's face lit up with joy. He ran to him and gave him a hug without thinking. "You came. I said I would," Keanu replied. "And I keep my promises." They walked together through the gallery. Keanu looked at each drawing carefully, asking questions, nodding with respect. "You didn't just draw pictures," he said. "You shared your heart. That takes courage." "I never thought people would care," Jordan said. "They care," Keanu answered, "because your art is real. And because you're real." As they talked, a reporter quietly took a picture of the two standing side by side. But Keanu didn't pay attention to the cameras. He kept his focus on Jordan, just like he did the first time they met. Before leaving, Keanu placed a gentle hand on Jordan's shoulder. "Keep doing what you love. Don't let the noise of the world stop you, promise?" "Promise," Jordan said. That night, Jordan went home tired but full of joy. He placed a printed photo of the gallery, his drawings on the wall, and him standing next to Keanu inside his notebook. That notebook, once filled with sad drawings in the dark, now held the proof of something beautiful, that a single moment of kindness could change everything, that even the smallest spark of hope could light up a life, and that anyone, even a lonely, hungry boy, could become someone the world looked up to. A few months passed, and the world slowly moved on, as it always does. New stories appeared in the news. New videos went viral. People forgot about the little boy and the movie star on the bench. But for Jordan, nothing was the same. His life had truly changed. He now lived full-time in Carla's shelter home. It wasn't just a place to sleep, it was his home. He had his own bed, his own corner for drawing, and friends who treated him like a brother. He went to school regularly and even joined an after-school art program. His drawings had gotten even better. Teachers said he had a gift, but Jordan never let the attention go to his head. He remembered where he came from. He remembered the long nights on cold streets. He remembered the hunger. And most of all, he remembered the man who sat beside him. Without judging, without asking questions, just offering a warm meal and gentle words. One cloudy afternoon, Jordan was sitting in the art room, drawing something special. Carla peeked in. "You've been at that drawing for hours," she said with a smile. Jordan looked up and grinned. "It's a surprise," she laughed. "Everything you make is a surprise." But Jordan didn't explain. He kept working until the sun went down. The drawing showed a small boy in the center, surrounded by other kids, each holding brushes and pencils. Above them was a big star, glowing brightly. The star had a familiar face, kind, calm, with a soft smile and a black cap. It was Keanu. Watching over them all like a guardian. Jordan planned to give this piece to him. But he didn't know how. A few days later, Carla came into his room with news. "Guess who called today?" Jordan raised his eyebrows. "Keanu," she said. Jordan's eyes widened. "Really?" "He's in town, and he wants to visit." Jordan jumped from his chair. He couldn't believe it. "When?" "Tomorrow," Carla said. "He said he doesn't want anything fancy. Just to see you quietly." The next day, Jordan waited at the front door, holding the drawing tightly in his hands. He had wrapped it in simple brown paper, tied with string. His heart beat fast with excitement. Then a quiet car pulled up. Keanu stepped out, wearing his usual cap and jacket, just like the first day. But this time, he was smiling wider. He walked toward Jordan and gave him a warm hug. "You've grown," he said. Jordan smiled. "Not much. Just taller by one sandwich." They both laughed. Keanu came inside and greeted Carla and the staff. Then he sat down with Jordan in the living room, where the other kids watched from a distance, curious but respectful. Jordan handed him the wrapped package. "This is for you." Keanu opened it slowly. When he saw the drawing, he froze. His eyes didn't move for a long time. He just stared at it, then blinked hard. "This is beautiful," he said in a soft voice. Jordan looked down. "I wanted to thank you. You didn't just help me. You helped all of us. Because of what you did, people saw us. They started caring." Keanu placed a hand on Jordan's shoulder. "You don't owe me anything. I didn't do it for thanks. I did it because I saw you, and you deserve to be seen." Carla wiped away a tear. The room was quiet. Later, Keanu stayed for dinner. He sat with the kids, listened to their jokes, and asked about their art. One girl gave him a drawing of a dog with wings. He smiled and promised to keep it. Before he left, he knelt beside Jordan and said, "You're already a hero, you know." Jordan shook his head. "I'm just a kid with a pencil." Keanu smiled. "That's more powerful than most people ever realize." As the car drove away, Jordan stood at the gate, holding the empty wrapping paper. He felt proud. Not because he met a star again, but because that star believed in him. And even after all the fame and attention, he came back. Quietly, kindly, like always. That night, Jordan added a new page to his sketchbook. It showed a boy holding up a pencil like a sword, with light shining from it. Around him stood other kids, each with their own light. In the corner, he drew a man in a cap, smiling from the shadows, and in big letters above it, he wrote, "Kindness is the real superpower." Jordan was no longer the quiet, hungry boy sitting alone on a city bench. He had grown taller, stronger, and more confident. His drawings had also grown more detailed, more emotional, more full of life. His hands, once cold and dirty, now held pencils and brushes like magic tools. And inside him, the sadness had turned into strength. He still lived at Carla's shelter, though now he helped others more than he needed help himself. He was like a big brother to the younger kids, teaching them how to draw, telling them stories, and reminding them that bad days didn't last forever. Some nights, he sat with the new children who arrived scared, lost, tired, and shared his own story. He told them about the day he met a man at a taco truck, a man who didn't walk past, a man who bought him food, listened, and saw his worth when no one else did. Jordan never said the man's name. Not because it was a secret, but because the name didn't matter as much as the feeling. He wanted the kids to know that kindness could come from anyone, anywhere. But the truth was, Jordan never forgot Keanu Reeves. He kept the art school card under his pillow for a long time, even after he was accepted into an art scholarship program. He never used the card for entry because by then, doors were already opening for him. But it was a reminder, a symbol of the first time someone believed in him. One day, when Jordan was 17, a letter arrived in the mail. Carla handed it to him with a knowing smile. The envelope was black with silver edges. Inside was an invitation. It said, "You are invited to speak at the International Youth Arts Conference in New York City. Your story and your art has inspired thousands. We would be honored to have you as our guest speaker." Jordan froze. "Me? Speak?" Carla nodded. "Yes, you." He was nervous. Speaking in front of people wasn't easy for him. Drawing was his way of talking. But something inside told him this was important. Maybe his words could do what his drawings did. Give people hope. At the conference, the room was filled with young artists, teachers, and mentors from around the world. Jordan stood on a big stage with a screen behind him showing some of his drawings. His hands shook a little, but his voice stayed calm. He told them his story. Not just about being poor or hungry, but about being invisible. And how one act of kindness changed everything. He didn't mention Keanu's name. He just called him a stranger with a kind heart. Sometimes, Jordan said, all it takes is one person to look at you and say, "I see you." That can light up a whole life. When he finished, the room was silent for a moment. Then, a wave of clapping filled the air. Some people stood A few wiped tears from their eyes. After the speech, a woman came up to him. "Your story reminded me of my brother," she said. "He was lost too, but no one helped him. I wish someone like your stranger had found him." Jordan gave her a quiet hug. He had learned that sometimes hugs spoke louder than words. Later that night, Jordan sat by a window in his hotel room, looking out at the city lights. He took out his sketchbook, now older and full of memories. He turned to a fresh page and began to draw. He drew a young boy on stage, standing in front of a crowd, holding a pencil like a microphone. Behind him, he drew hundreds of children, all holding brushes, crayons, or paint. They were smiling, brave, full of dreams. In the background, like always, was the man with the cap watching from the shadows, his smile quiet but proud. Just then, his phone buzzed. It was a message. "Saw the speech. You crushed it. I'm proud of you." Jordan smiled. He didn't reply. He didn't need to. The message was enough. It reminded him that no matter how far he went in life, the roots of his story would always begin on that sidewalk. One hungry afternoon, one quiet bench, one simple question: "Have you eaten today?" And because of that moment, because of that man, Jordan's life became a story of hope. Not just for himself, but for thousands of others. His art wasn't just pictures. It was proof that kindness is real, that strangers can become heroes, and that sometimes when no one else sees you, one person does, and that changes everything.